What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode with your boy Phrankleen. If this is your first time stopping by, thank you for stopping by. If you like what I'm about, don't forget to hit the like button, and also don't forget to check out my playlist, particularly the Say It Like It Is playlist. I've got more than 100 plus episodes of this wonderful segment on numerous eclectic topics that affect everyday lives. Right, this episode is sponsored by Sendwave. Sendwave is an app that you can download within the 2 shakes of a dog still on your mobile devices, and be it Android or iPhone. What's Sendwave? Sendwave basically is an app that allows you to send money from Italy, Spain, United States of America, United Kingdom, allows you to send money to Nigeria, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and Ghana, okay, within the comfort of your own home, within your mobile devices, and there is no commission. Another amazing thing is Sendwave basically does not charge any commissions on top of your transaction. You send your money, bang, it goes straight within minutes, lands into the respective the relevant bank account. Now, at the time of recording this, okay, it's the 22nd today, 22nd of May. From the 18th of May till the 24th of May 2020, Sendwave have got a special Ramadan offer going on, which is if you are sending money via Sendwave for the very first time, you basically will get $10, £10 and or €10, whichever applies, added to your very first transaction. Just simply use my promo code Phrankleen as it's spelled on the screen, okay? And if you get to watch this video after the 24th of May, the promo code would have gone back to $5, £5 or €5, okay? And also, you can share the promo code with your friends and families, as many people as possible, all right? Sendwave. That's that. So let's crack on. Today's topic is the ADOS movement, and is it a sabotage of black collective activism? That's what this is about. Particularly for African Americans, it's a common knowledge. You know what the ADOS movement is. So I'm going to read to you very quickly the Wikipedia definition. ADOS basically means the American descendants of slavery. Okay, that's what that means. It's a lineage focused political movement that seeks to advocate for people who are descendants of the enslaved Africans in America from its colonial period onwards. It focuses on the difference between African Americans whose ancestors were slaves and those whose ancestors were not, calling for the descendants of slaves to be given priority over other African Americans and to have their own racial classification. They believe that the differences are enough to establish, different ethnicities between the groups, and the descendants of slaves disadvantaged compared to other African Americans. Now, this has been going on, for a while, and I'm personally aware. I've followed the ADOS hashtag on Twitter and stuff. Now, there is a part of me that understands, the clamoring for the advocacy for, reparations and stuff. Anyone that's been subjected to, slavery, you're the descendants of slaves and stuff. There's generational trauma that's not even been attended to and stuff like that. We are thoroughly aware. Am I against reparations or compensations and stuff? Definitely not. I'm rooting for my brothers and sisters to get that which they deserve. However, the divisiveness is what calls for concern. And let me just say very quickly, this particular episode is not designed to try to discredit ADOS or to suggest in any way, shape or form that people who are might be eligible for a form of reparations shouldn't get it, okay? Let's not be blinded by emotions. I'm discussing this basically to open a channel for hopefully grown-up conversations that we can all collectively as a people, learn from. Now, the divisiveness of the whole well, what do you call it now, ADOS movement is what I personally have concern about. Now, the ADOS movement advocates, they're advocates, right? They've got some people at the top of affairs. They've got this conversation on reparations and economic justice by advocating only specifically for black descendants of slaves and not the black community as a whole. And on top of that, they're also advocating for a separate racial profiling, a sort of labeling that identifies them separately from the rest of the black community, which is where I believe the problem lies. Their advocacy leaves an entire group of people, American-born descendants of immigrants, for example, some of whose families have been in the U.S. for generations, many whose families may have survived, decades, if not centuries of institutional racism in limbo in the said conversation. And the focus has basically pitted, the ADOS adherents against people with, people like very popularly known, journalists like Roland Martin, who descended from Haitian, I don't know if I pronounced that properly, immigrants. It also appears not to address the American descendants of slaves from other countries, including, for example, Haiti, and whether they should be entitled to reparations. So there was a huge disparity between the two populations. For example, back in 2015, there was a research report that showed that US-born, black people were less likely to have a bachelor's degree than black immigrants, by 19% versus 26%. The same report also showed that foreign-born black people have a $10,000 higher median income than US-born at $33,500. I can go on and on and on, but what I really have a problem, with is the divisiveness of these particular movement, as I've said. Now, somebody said something online. I was going through some materials online in the interest of this when I was researching, right? And there's a comment that caught my attention. So the people behind the ADOS movement, right, are basically excluding any other, people within the black community that might have, been involved in any other form of slavery and stuff. They're focusing on themselves, which is actually basically splitting the community right, I wouldn't even say down the line. It's just shattering everything. Now, somebody said, pardon my ignorance. This is a comment online. But wouldn't black Caribbean immigrants also be descendants of slaves? Because, in fact, the ADOS movement showing a blatant disregard for the black Caribbean, immigrants, who are, some of which are evidently descendants of slaves. And they are basically saying, so this person said, on the other hand, black Americans descended from slavery, on one hand, black Americans descended from slavery should have more of the resources meant to those wrongs, regardless of one's stance on immigration. Reparations are owed and to a very specific group of people. But on the other hand, any black American, regardless of their birthplace, are affected by the systematic racism that has festered since slavery. Absolutely. So they should be able to avail themselves to the resources too. When a black man is pulled over by the police don't ask him if he is from Jamaica or descended from slavery before deciding to racially profile or inflict unwarranted violence upon the black man. I can promise you that many black Caribbean Americans have to attend inferior schools, in the neighborhoods, in American neighborhoods, that is. One thing I'm absolutely certain of is where there is, GOP interest, there is a nefariousness involved. Black Americans involved in this movement should be very, very wary of right-wing involvement or interests, right? Now, this emphasizes, or let me say amplifies my point. Now, the fringe movement called the ADOS, which is American Descendants of Slavery, they have basically, as far as I'm concerned, emerged to systematically fracture black communities. This is why we have to be very, very careful. And like I was trying to say earlier, my submission regarding this topic is not to discredit the entirety of the ADOS movement, but to also open avenue for conversations, because we're talking about some of us are talking about, because some people, it's not their cup of tea to move back to Africa or to see Africa being fixed and things to run properly in the motherland, the black continent. So these for me stemmed from that conversation. It's like a branch. If we're talking about the differences between a couple of days ago, I had a live stream session. You should go and watch that, where I talked about the differences between the black African immigrants and the African Americans, and what is the thing separating us. We don't know enough about ourselves and stuff. So this is like a continuation, because this is one of the major things that's dividing us within the black community as a whole. So they basically have fractured the black communities and are directly attack unified social justice efforts among the US black population. The term American Descendants of Slavery was created back in 2016 to describe and distinctly separate African Americans from black immigrant communities, which is the Africans, the Afro-Caribbeans, and the the Afro-Latinos, right? So ADOS leaders say they'll use the moniker, the ADOS, as part of their legal justice claim for reparations. Instead, it will likely be used to influence policies that would further marginalize, that's exactly what I'm banging on about, and oppress black communities, right? Now, the movement's leadership, it's alleged that the movement's leadership is linked to entities that have a history of anti-blackness, xenophobia, and attempts to cause division, within the black community. ADOS leader, particularly the called Antonio Moore, wrote for right-wing media outlet, has been known to, written for those right-wing media outlets. ADOS leader Yvette Connell was on the board of fake progressive organization and Progressives for Immigration Reform that was aided by white supremacist and eugenics supporter John Tanton. And ADOS leadership is focused, it's alleged, on widening divisions between African American, African, and Afro-Caribbean and Afro-Latino communities. The platform currently advocates for policies that would remove black immigrants from affirmative action and would limit visas for African immigrants. Wow. This would essentially render black immigrants second-class citizens. This is exactly what I'm saying, right? You see, even Wikipedia calls it political movement. And this is the problem, right? Within the black community, you see, the moment it's the same thing. Let me digress now. Talk very quickly about, what do you call it now? Black Lives Matter. I remember when Black Lives Matter started. I think I mentioned this before, and I was one of the people that, I thought, oh yes, fantastic, this is a movement that will help amplify, the voices of black community as a collective and as a whole, and put us out there and hopefully help us get justice, blah blah blah. And then as things progressed, you soon realize that some white supremacists actually were the framework behind the Black Lives Matter movement. They hijacked it for fraudulent misrepresentation. They hijacked it, and the malicious plan was to use that to further divide and marginalize the black community and destroy us, to ensure that we forever remain divided, We hate ourselves. We are broken into tiny, tiny groups. We cannot amalgamate our brains and minds to be able to laser target, our focuses on social justice and a black collective activism, because they know that when there is a black collective activism, right in there lies the power. The driving force is organic, is undiluted, is absolutely powerful. But when you remain shattered and torn apart, the black struggle will forever, carry on. This is my own submission in brief, okay? I would like the listeners to join the conversation below if you're watching this on my YouTube channel. What do you think? Okay, as I say, if there are black folks out there who are deserving of reparations and stuff, I agree. But if you're weaponizing it you are actually even asking, and this is it, right? It's insulting to our collective intelligence. I'm not suggesting that people shouldn't get reparations, but on top of that, you are asking for a unique labeling for yourselves among the wider black community. You're asking for labeling from the people at the top that have evidently hijacked everything about the black movement and black forwardness. The people in power that control the police, that control the justice system, that are making sure that black folks remain at the bottom end of the spectrum. You are asking them to label you. Even the argument about the submissions about, the demand for reparations is yet to be honored, right? They know, because what reparations simply mean on paper, compensation is, it's enriching the black people. It's enriching you. It's strengthening you financially, which would mean a massive surge in progress, which would mean financial liberty, which would mean your children, your children's children will be financially liberated, will be free, will be able to invest, will be able to own businesses, properties, investments, stocks, and the list goes on. And when that happens, the elitists lose their grip on the black community. So what do you think about the ADOS movement? It's your boy Phrankleen. Let's keep that conversation, going on below. Is it a weaponized tool to sabotage the collective, the black collective activism and social justice, or am I seeing this wrongly? Thank you for listening. It's your boy Phrankleen. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe button, and if you haven't, smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit that bell button. And when you select that bell button, select that all, the option of all, that allows you to get notified when I'm on my live stream and when I upload videos on my platform. Thank you for watching. Feel free to share my video, and once again, don't forget to download the Sendwave app, okay? And within between 18th of May the 24th of May, you get £10, $10, €10 added to your very first transaction. Okay, it's your boy Phrankleen, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace and love. Bye-bye.